Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to Artifacts, Unsung Heroes, and STEAM session. So delighted to see so many people joining from around the country and also to see so many familiar names and new names. So welcome. And we're going to get started. We have some guests that are still joining, so I'm going to begin with just some housekeeping. I'd like everyone to know that you've been muted to help control our background noise, but we have the chat active and live. It's going to be ongoing, so please pull up the chat. Make sure you can see that. We're going to be posting links and resources and invite your participation through the chat. We're going to have some time for questions and answers at the end, but if you have questions along the way, post them in the chat and we will pause periodically to check on your questions. I also want to let everyone know that this session is being recorded. We're posting our code of conduct in the chat for everyone as a reference, and you'll all receive a copy of the materials. So don't worry if you're, not in a place to take good notes. You're going to get the recording and the lesson plan as well. All right, so let's begin. Please go ahead and post a greeting in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. And I want to begin with some introductions. I'm Dr. Tony Guglielmo, Executive Director of ARTEFFECT. I've been in this position for 3 years, leading ARTEFFECT as an expanding arts education initiative under the Lowell Milken Family Foundation. And I am joined by my teammates here in Santa Monica that I would like to quickly introduce. So let's begin with Connor Walden, Project Manager.
Hello, everybody. My name's Connor. As Tony mentioned, I'm here in Santa Monica with Team Artifacts, and I'm so excited to see you all here today and to hear from Jen. And I'll be working the tech behind the scenes today, but so great to see everybody today.
Thank you. And next up is Kate Rose, our program coordinator.
Hi everyone, hope you're having a good evening. I'll be on the chat tonight and I'll be talking a bit too, but Jen has a great presentation, so get excited.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Connor and Kate. And I just want to acknowledge our founder, Mr. Lowell Milken, who is ever present. He has his eye on the ambassadors program and big vision for Artifact. So thank you to Lowell Milken. And we also want to greet our ambassadors that are joining us this evening. So we have 28 outstanding educators from around the nation who are participating in a year-long online fellowship, working with this content and bringing this into their classrooms and communities, the Unsung Heroes. So welcome to all of our ambassadors. It's module 4, if you can imagine that already. So we're more than halfway through the program. It's flying by. So delighted to see so many of you here this evening. And Kate is going to post just a link to the ambassadors' profiles on our website in the chat, and you can take a look more about that program if you're new to Artifact. And I just, for those of you that are new, just want to give you a quick overview about our mission and what we offer and what we do here at Artifacts. So we are focused on inviting students and educators to explore the inspiring and diverse stories of unsung heroes from history as role models through the visual arts and arts integration. And through this main mission, we offer professional development, such as this session tonight, our Ambassadors Fellowship. We also offer the annual student art competition, which you will be hearing about, and exhibitions as well. So we're going to share a little bit about each of these more as we go through the program. And our focus is on unsung heroes from history. So we have an expanding list of about over 150 diverse and inspiring individuals from history that are, their stories are brought through light through the Discovery Award, which is another program at the Lowell Milken Center for Unsung Heroes. And these stories are of individuals who have made a positive and profound difference on the course of history. They've done demonstrated altruistic character traits and took actions, heroic actions in service to others in society, and that have had an impact. So we're going to be talking about our focus on unsung heroes. As you know, we have a growing list, and you can explore those unsung heroes online in various ways that we will share with you. And tonight, we are excited to focus on unsung heroes that have been in the field of STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And our speaker this evening, Jen Braverman, who'd like to introduce, is an expert on this topic. She has developed a robust lesson plan for us. So I invite you to make sure that you can click on that lesson plan. We're going to follow it through step by step as Jen guides us through this lesson plan. So Jen Braverman is a dear friend and colleague who has been associated with the Lowell Milken Center for Unsung Heroes as a Lowell Milken Center Fellow. She's also been involved with ARTEFFECT in the Ambassadors Program over the last 3 years. She's developed her own set of coloring books as a resource for the unsung heroes and does amazing things. She juggles a lot. So I am going to invite Jen to introduce herself and tell us a little bit more and guide and just turn it over to her to guide us through her lesson plan. So welcome, Jennifer Braverman.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces, a couple of the new ambassadors that I'm working with, and I'm really excited to get you all connected and on board and learn more about how these heroes really have changed our world and how we can connect our students with their passions. So I'm a passionate educator. I'm in my 18th year as a high school art teacher. I teach in New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia, AP studio art, drawing and painting, digital mixed media. I have taught sculpture and ceramics, photography, all the other classes, middle school art as well. I also have been an adjunct at the College of New Jersey since 2013 and teach in the Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies department. I have developed a professional development program called Braver Schools that I've done locally, and I'm just really here. I view myself as a facilitator, not necessarily as the expert in any capacity, but I do have a lot of knowledge I want to share with you and collaborate and find ways to connect this meaningful content with what you're doing in the classroom. I know that we have people directly working with students, and a lot of you may be student adjacent, but the stuff I'm talking about, the resources I'm going to give you can really be applied to so many different categories. And lastly, this is all easy for me because I am a mom to triplets that just turned 4 and a 7-year-old. So I like to land with that because that's really where I learn a lot of my problem-solving skills on the job. So I'm really excited. I want to go over what we're going to do in this program. So let's start with our checklist. You should be following along with the lesson plan. We're going to do a little bit extra. If you have things that you really want to talk about, I can pause a little bit, but there is a Q&A at the end. I'm also very accessible and happy to work with you at a different time because this is really a big overview. We're starting with why STEM shifted to STEAM and why the art is so important. Then we're going to talk about how we think about thinking, right? Why it's important to know about the brain, to learn about the brain, and be a little metaphysical. We're going to talk specifically about discovering the STEAM unsung heroes, exploring what those heroes look like, doing a speed meet program, collaboration, why that's really important, the Hall of Influence, and more details. All right, are we ready? Ready to dive in? Yes, good. All right, the first section is STEM versus STEAM and why we need art. I know this is really preaching to the choir because you're all here because you're passionate about why the art is so important. But we're going to talk and do a couple of activities that you can turnkey in your classroom as well. The first thing is the importance of design. And even since I was speaking with the team, and this is the third time I've done this program, I added something new because I'm always thinking like a designer, thinking like an engineer, even though I am an art teacher. We're all innovators, we're all designers. And so who's seen this square watermelon before? Anybody have any? You can put your thoughts in the chat or unmute. I've seen a couple thumbs up. Yes. So this watermelon is really interesting. It actually dates back this design to 1978. It was created by a graphic designer. And even though why is this different than just any old watermelon that you would see in the supermarket? Why is this a design topic? Anybody? Yes. Why is it innovative?
Go ahead and unmute yourself or post a comment in the chat.
Storage. Fits good in the refrigerator. Save space at the store, easy to transport, all of these things. So it's efficient, it's more efficient, and storage. It turns out, while it was a wonderful design, it's not really practical in terms of we're not seeing these, even though it's a smart design, it's an innovative design, but it's flawed in that you have to fit it into the packaging. Essentially, you can make watermelon any shape, right? But it's not ripe. So you have to pull it out of its base before it's ripe. And it's also way too expensive. On the flip side, you see, I'm sure many of you are Costco members or at least know about Costco, and their not recent, but their milk jug looks very different. So has anyone seen this milk jug before? It's a Kirkland milk jug. I see now. So this is the same concept, and Costco uses these jugs. The designer created this jug because of packing, right? So it's much cheaper and efficient because in the warehouses, you can stack all of these jugs of milk. While it is more efficient and it brings the cost down, consumers don't love it. There's a lot of mixed reviews. If you look up the Kirkland milk jug, you're going to see people that say it's awkward to hold, it doesn't pour well, it looks like detergent, but in the end, it's all balancing innovation and it's all balancing what's more important. And in this specific case, efficiency and decreasing cost overrides having a more aesthetic, beautiful milk jug. So the importance of design is one of the big lenses we're going to talk about as well. All right. You may already know this, but this is just a kind of a quick recap that when you look at the history of the language shift, it dates from 2006 to potentially 2010, lands in RISD, the Rhode Island School of Design, for the ones that said and put the A, right, the arts, into STEM, making STEM STEAM, because art is so important. Scientists, technology, engineers, mathematicians, all of these people are artists, right? We know this because it's the core of everything we do. But it wasn't until the 21st century that the language was shifted, right? And it was saying, we need this in our classrooms. We need art. We need these designers. And I made this, this can be used for all ages. It's just kind of a fun visual, but it's called the STEAM Racers. When you look at these elements of STEAM, so the rise of innovation and creativity, advocacy for a holistic education, not just the quote core subjects, right? Art is a core subject. They're all core because they're all so important. Cultural shifts, the economic shifts, recognition of the design process, which we've already discussed briefly, and there was support from the industry leaders. What other things do you think are important or that we need to integrate or think about when looking at the word STEAM? Is there anything that you think should be an element? You know, all of us do the elements of art. Who here is a visual art teacher? Okay,
I'd say the majority of our group here is visual arts teachers, but we also have some arts integration teachers, social studies, language arts, history. And I think to your point, Jen, that's why STEAM is a really good topic for that cross-disciplinary approach to arts.
Absolutely. And I think most people, when you're teaching art, one of the art 101s, the basics, even in elementary school, you do the elements of art. So you're talking the beginning of the year. I see a lot of head nods, right? Line, shape, texture, value, space, form. You might dive into the principles of design, right? Rhythm, movement, proportion. What I want to do is I'm trying to create kind of a framework or art elements of STEAM, right? So is there anything you want to add, or does this look like a good base? Yep, art can be used and is used to improve understanding of STEM subjects. I teach art. Good. All right, I think we're good with it, so we'll keep going. All right. Brain breaks. We're going to think about thinking. Speaking and presenting. Yes, that's a great comment. So in here, and this is a resource you will have, it's actually, I don't know, those of you that aren't necessarily local to me, you may not have been able to see the Franklin Institute, but it's an excellent museum, and they have a really phenomenal display focusing on the brain. So there's a little video you can watch down the road, and it talks about the different things about the brain, short-term memory, how we think, how we see things, the way neurons are, and we plugged that into the chat. So I would tag that for later. I like to start my unit off in my drawing one classes with thinking about thinking before we even get to the contest, before we even get into the unsung heroes, but getting our brain warmed up. So this is a great resource. Okay, this is going to be kind of our interactive part of the course or the program. If you have paper, please get it out, something to draw with nearby. These are also some of my student art. A lot of the art you'll see is all the art is former student art, which is nice. Instead of just pulling things right online, it's nice to see what students are creating. Who has heard of the Stroop Challenge? Not too many. You may not know the word for it, but you may have done it. I see a couple people that if you did the workshop with me before, you're going to do it again, but you're not going to get any better. So it's okay. It's a good way. Your brain's going to be irritated. So essentially we have the logical part and the creative part of our brains. And what's happening is you have the tension between what's congruent and what's incongruent, and your brain kind of freezes up. So let's experience it. You're going to experience it and see it right now. Thank you. We can also see the original study in the chat. So let's click on the Stroop Challenge. We're going to do this together. I do this with pretty much every class as a good warm-up. We're going to say the color of the word. So you're going to say this out loud. We're going to go as fast as we can. We're going to follow Connor's mouse. And we're going to just say the color of the word. This is going to be easy. You're going to say, why am I doing this? Okay, round one. Here we go. Red, green, blue.
Unmute, everyone.
Yeah, unmute. Let's try it again. Thank you, Tony. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Red,
Green, blue, yellow, pink, orange, blue, green, blue, white, green, yellow, orange, blue, white, brown, red, blue, yellow, green, pink, yellow, green, blue, red.
Okay, great. Now we're going to do it as fast as we can and go into the next slide. All right, now same thing. You're going to say the color of the word as fast as we can. Ready, set, go. Green,
yellow, white, pink, orange, blue, green, white, orange,
red,
pink,
blue,
yellow,
yellow,
pink,
orange,
red,
yellow,
faces.
orange, blue, red.
Finish strong.
All right, good job.
All right, so what happened? I see some silly faces and some So what happened? The first round, all it is colors, right? We're just doing colors. What was the challenge? What did you feel in your brain, or what was the hesitation? Anybody?
Trusting the color versus the text, like which one to listen to.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We are so conditioned, right? And from very early age to say red is red is red is red. And this applies to so on this website, and we can go back to the Stroop Effect website that gives you great resources. There's tests. There's one that's animals, right? And the animal is you could have a picture of a cow, and then the word chicken is above the picture of the cow. Your brain is going to do the same thing. So we lump things into categories and we get stuck. So see this is another example. One of the first activities I have students do is make their own Stroop Effect. So we're going to do this quickly. We're going to do a little demo one. people have picked all different topics. It has to be in the same theme, right? So I could pick flags and label them as different countries, but I can't pick flags and then write a taco and pizza and a fish, right? It has to make sense. People have done sports equipment. This is a student's example of under the sea animals. Okay, so we're going to give you a short little timer. You're going to go here and pick any topic, 5 to 10 images, and switch the labels. We're going to do a little speed draw. Okay, we can start our timer. All right, can we have a few participants share their visual? All right, let me see. Jen Harrington got sports themed. Very good. Let's see, who else do we have? Anybody holding theirs up or dropping it in the chat?
I'm trying to hold mine up. Hold on.
Okay.
Right, Amy.
Oh, I see Amy's got food. Got food. Anyone else do a different topic? That looks great.
Can you see mine here?
Let's see.
Oh, awesome. We got one in the chat.
Another food one. Oh, insects. I like that. We got some color. It was pretty quick to get all that color in there. More fruit. Okay. Anyone else do? I couldn't see. Did I miss any? Any of the other artifact? Let's see. El Coulez. I can't quite.
Lauren, tell us what you've got there.
Yeah, I did a bunch of different sweets. I guess
Oh,
I'm
awesome.
hungry.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, I can see it now. Yep.
Thank you.
So you don't need a lot of time. This isn't a whole, big giant unit, right? It's a great quick lesson. You can do it digitally, and then students will swap them and have to do each other's tests. And it's all of this is to get the brain moving and thinking and kind of work through that tension, right? Oh, I did emotions. Good. Anyone else can share in the chat their topic if you'd like to let us know. We got emotions. Ooh, art supplies. Excellent. Fruit. So I definitely encourage you to explore that website when you have more time because there's even more great resources. All right. Keep them coming. We're going to keep going, but I like the chat moving at the same time.
Jen, I wanted to ask you, is this like a good example of like convergent and divergent thinking?
Yes.
Because like if the image and the word match, that's kind of convergent thinking, but then your brain slows down, but it can be more creative if you're doing divergent thinking where they don't match.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Thank you for saying that. All right, let's go to our next slide. Got a couple more visual activities. This one has gained a lot of popularity recently. It's not a new thing, but I've seen some lesson plans just on this, on the bidirectional optical illusions. When you look at this, and this is a great conversation starter when you want to talk about perception versus reality, and again, the way the brain works, because what do you see first? So if you see the profile first, raise your hand. All right, I see about several hands. If you see the half, did I say the profile? Yeah, if you see the face first, the half a face, raise your hand.
I think we have
It's about
more people there.
More people on that side, but you can't see them at the same time. Again, it's obviously an optical illusion. It's a brain challenge because yes, I see a profile. Yes, I see half the face, but I can't be experiencing and seeing them at the exact same time. And that's a great talking point for how important perception is as well. And there are plenty of lesson plans out there on this to do this using Photoshop, which people don't even use Photoshop as much anymore. But anyway, I digress. Next slide. When I start the class, every day I do an artist of the day, and I try to find artists all over the world, all different types of artists. One of the first artists I usually show each year is Rajasena. We're going to show a short video. She is quadridextrous, so she can draw and paint with both hands and feet at the same time. She's incredible. She's in the Netherlands, and she knew she was she was actually a child model. Then she enjoyed drawing. She knew that she was ambidextrous. A reporter or somebody interviewing her said, "Wouldn't it be funny if you drew with your feet?" And she said, "I'll try it." And unbeknownst to everybody, her brain is wired so exceptionally. There's also resources about the way her brain is wired. But she can draw it with hands and feet at the same time. So let's hear from the source. So I like her, obviously her and this video for several reasons, because a lot of the things she says, right? Don't be afraid to fail is something that a lot of students need to hear. My hardest students are the perfectionists. A lot of times they'll turn nothing in instead of something partially done or something they don't like. So, I'll say, you would rather take a 0 than show me what you've worked on. So there, especially with the post-COVID and the rising of anxiety, there's a lot of students that need to be pushed to try new things. They won't go out of their wheelhouse as much. So showing these STEAM people show it's important to think differently, to try new things, and it is okay to fail. Anybody else have any thoughts about Rajasena or anything she said about being an artist? Okay. The additional resource, the add-in, is it's the Mouth and Foot Painting Association artists as well. This is it's actually an international organization, and these are artists that their tagline is self-help, not charity. And that's another important it's it's really important to show different artists of all skill levels, and they're not saying pity me or I'm an example or I'm an inspiration. They're saying, no, we are artists, period. Right? We're not artists that do X, Y, and Z. No, we are artists, and they make beautiful work. A lot of these people, some of them were born without limbs. Some of them had a tragic accidents. They all have different stories, but they are in their core, they're artists. They want to create, and it's a great resource to show. Again, students need to see artists of all different styles, all different people, all different abilities, just to open themselves up, because so many of them will just shut down if it doesn't look exactly right. And I think it's even harder with painting. Drawing, I can push students a little bit more. With painting, I'm finding in the past couple of years, students get really tight, and if it doesn't look, they get very, very frustrated. So it helps push past that. I like that the comment in the chat. I think we forget it's really invigorating to give ourselves permission to be art students as well. And that's a huge thing. As I said, as you heard my bio, I have a lot going on, right? As I'm sure all of you do. So a lot of times, the only time and the most freeing time I can create art is alongside my AP or my drawing students. And we work together, and they love seeing me draw and helping, and it's great for us to be students to experiment. I'm trying something new with these beads and buttons only because somebody donated a surplus of materials, right? And the materials are kind of guiding this project. So students need to see us explore as well. All right, we're going to keep going.
So Jen, I wanted to just jump in before we get to your step 3, because I really appreciate the variety of these quick exercises that you've just presented, like warm-up exercises for the students. And I wanted to, I had like a moment. I was telling Kate and Connor about the importance of metacognition, and that we're looking at innovators from, just recapping because it was like an illumination, but we're looking at innovators from history who have thought outside of the box. And oftentimes our thought processes are so automatic. So what I really appreciate about the metacognitive exercises is that as students look at these innovators from history, which we're going to look at next, they can recognize that they think outside the box, but how to do that, slowing down and really understanding how our brain works in different capacities, and playing with that and leveraging that is something that I think these exercises can help get to.
We are trying to get ourselves into that mentality of what these great innovators, scientists, how they thought and saw the world and saw the problems, and then how they created a solution for things that they felt needed solutions. So Zach, thank you for adding that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so now we're going to gear it more specifically to STEAM and the Unsung Hero project and the Unsung Hero focus. Okay. This is just a beautiful visual, but to think about some of the heroic character traits, actions, values, and visions. When you think of a hero, what comes to mind, right? This is a launch point for you to use in your classrooms. You can download the ARTEFFECT word wheel graphic, but the main categories, right? What are the traits, actions? What are their values, their morals, and their visions? Next slide. This is the heroes. There's different categories. There's civil rights, wartime heroes, environmental science, and education. But you can filter it through the amazing website that's just been upgraded and updated, and just look at STEAM if that's what you want to focus on. There are over 150 heroes in this program, the ARTEFFECT, and over 30 STEAM on this list. So, coloring books have had waves of influence. They were not popular, then they were popular, and it ebbs and flows. But I've been creating coloring books. Actually, the first one I did was 2006. So it's been a long time. Oh my gosh, it's been 20 years. 2006. I don't know how that happened. But I've been very passionate about using heroes that are, real life heroes, because there's millions of coloring books out there, and they're great. The act of coloring is great. It gets your brain thinking. It can be mindful. You can connect. It helps you focus. But also, let's not just color randomly. Let's color the people that are making a difference. So these two books I made are pre-connecting with ARTEFFECT and the Lowell Milken Center. The first one focused on women coloring the world. The second one was courageous children coloring the world. And this book was really interesting because I put children around the world making a difference. And one student that I had at the time, who started an anti-bullying organization called Operation Purple Sky at my school. So I had one local student in this as well. Then we go to the ARTEFFECT, the Lowell Milken Center. These are the two editions that I did for the team here. The first one was coloring Unsung Heroes. You see the hero, there's a little basic illustration, a line art with some background content, and then their bios. The next one was kind of a full circle moment. I finished that last year, and that was also women. So considering that I started the one in 2006 and the last one was 2025, it was kind of neat. But these are heroes, and this can be used for all ages to look at color, get a quick snapshot away from screens, right? There is so much wonderful stuff to screens, but this is, you can see I had the books in the classroom. So these are the shots from my classroom. The students were looking through the book. This is just for them to get a basic idea of the people, right? They colored who they felt they connected with, they added on, they drew, they doodled. It became kind of an interactive visual workbook using the actual coloring books. That helped them whittle who they wanted to focus on. It was a great resource. And these are, like I said, as high school students, it's not just elementary. It's hard to see in the pictures, but some of them were just drawing more portraits, but others were drawing things like thought bubbles and kind of a visual mapping based on the coloring and the base. It's kind of interesting. In fact, literally today, I had a student who's an EMT. She's 18 years old, so she's really incredible because she's working as an EMT, but also finishing high school. And she's been studying, and I think it was Nettle. It was a Nettle scientific coloring book, and she was saying that she was been keeping her eye on this coloring book because she wants to build and learn. And it helps her learn. It helps her learn alongside the studies. So she has this coloring book of all the anatomy, and she's coloring it while studying. This is the equivalent of our kind of our anatomy or our base coloring book. Let's learn about the people and connect. I intentionally made the last pages look like trading cards because I wanted that to also be a potential activity for classes. So you could photocopy these, mix and match, share the trading cards with your students in the classroom. A quick way to get to know people just visually. I'm looking at, I look at this one picture, I see this woman with a stethoscope and a baby. Okay, I know that that's something that's going to be different than the visual of the paleontologist. Maybe that grabs me more because I'm more into paleontology. It's a quick visual way to see, hey, do I connect with this person? And you can write notes on the back and do other things. I know there was a wonderful ambassador that took the trading cards to the next level, right? Last year.
Yes, and I wanted to jump in because we were just talking about thinking outside the box. And I know coloring books sometimes can be a little like, oh, restrictive. People sometimes think that they're like coloring in the lines is the opposite of thinking outside the box. However, at that point that you made, I put a note in the chat because I think it's important, Jen, what you're really showing us here is the coloring book as a way to build that historical empathy to the careful concentrated looking and slowing down and getting to build like a connection with the historical individual. And also the trading cards are a nice choice-based activity. We did have an ambassador who chose to do a capstone project on creating a set of her own trading cards, and the students helped create those, and then they were trading those to select Unsung Heroes and use as a resource with QR codes, and it's awesome.
It's all, I mean, it's so wonderful, and it just builds and builds, and then that resource can be shared out, and it just keeps going. And I think I'm always personally drawn to portraits. We do want beyond just basic portraits, of course, in the contest. But what's interesting, if you do a live portrait, and I'm sure many of you have done that, whether it's a character or realistic, and you're sitting looking across at somebody, you're studying their face, you're studying the lines, and that does build that empathy and that connection. So if you can't obviously be across from these historical figures, but by using the baseline of it, you do make those connections. All right. So the next thing you can do is kind of set up a speed meet to learn about as many heroes as quickly as possible. This is kind of broad to tight, right? So you're learning about as many people, and then you're working through and categorizing them. But there's two ways to look at this. You can look at, yes, science, technology, engineering, art, mathematics, but the other slide I like to also think about is the interaction, right? Who does more than one category and the way they overlap. So we look at I think I want to go to the next slide too. And the worksheets. Yeah, it's collaborative connections. Yeah, I like this because Hall of Influence instead of Hall of Fame, right? Even though the language is really important too. And these are people that have changed the world. They have solved problems. They have created amazing inventions and X, Y, and Z, right? So the Hall of Influence, their influence is important. And think about the overlap. Is there someone that is an artist and a scientist? Is there somebody that is an engineer and a mathematician? And where do the students land in that connection? This helps is a great way to think about it because nobody is linear, right, in any capacity. But a lot of these great heroes have had such really interesting lives, and the more they learn about them and dig into them and see, yes, the overlap of this person was a civil rights hero as well as a scientist. All of those things matter. So learning about the holistic person. We'll go to our next one too. All of this is worksheets. It's a lot of information. You do not need to use all of this. This is meant to be for you to pick and choose to see what's the best that meets your students' needs. You might have a more academic-centered class that really does dive into the research and spends 2 days in the speed meets and looking at the trading cards and mixing and matching and diving in about their heroes. Or it might be a half a period. You know your students best. That's why what's great about this contest is it has a nice long range. It's not only open, for 1 month. It's not, you have the whole school year to really work on it and build into it. Okay, full steam ahead. You can do puns. Everybody likes a pun. So these artworks are really great because what I'm going to show you is some examples. When you look at these two visuals, what do you think? What stands out? Why are these artworks so exceptional? Anybody? And you can see there is the winners was dropped. They're absolutely beautiful. Even if you don't know Gene Shoemaker and you don't know Carl Ernst von Baer, what do you know about them looking at these pieces? The details. Careful observation of the scientist, the skill level, the depth from the details. Everybody is really in the concentration. There's a story to the composition. This isn't just here's somebody standing here, right? So you can see, and you see the concentration. You almost can see the aha moments for both of them. And seeing these two side by side, when did they see, what that turning point? I mean, they're beautifully, their technical skills are absolutely beautiful, but also looking at the story behind it, the composition. All right, let's look at a couple other examples.
I was going to mention on the previous slide, Visions of Light was the grand prize winner. And on this slide, actually, we have Rosie Dotson as an ambassador, and this is one of her students on completing the square.
And why this is such a beautiful slide is they're both the same person, right? So you can see this is two examples of people that chose the same hero with completely different approaches. What do you think? What are you drawn to, and why are these so dynamic? The lines, shapes, colors, yep. The medium. I definitely encourage you to look through the winning pieces and pick if you do the STEAM lens, of course, pick the STEAM art, but there's plenty of other, it depends what lens you go. Pick those work, show them to your class, lead critiques, see what's strong, see what's dynamic. Okay. They're absolutely beautiful. Let's look at a couple more examples. All right, now this one's really powerful. What do you see in the composition? The skeleton and the layers. So even if you had no baseline, I think it is this is the inventor of the X-ray, right? But looking at, boom, what's in the foreground? It's incredible. You see the story, you're there. This is acrylic on canvas, an 11th grade student. The different views of history. All these stories need to be told. We are here to encourage our students to find a creative way to tell their stories. We're going to show, it could be sculpture, could be quilting, could be mixed media. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but we want to engage our students, have our students feel connected with these heroes, and then create art inspired by them. And start to think like the heroes. This is another one, two different approaches. The one on the left is one of my students that didn't place. I mean, but I think that that's really important because we're not doing this for of course, every student can't win. Every student isn't going to be, recognized through the artifact level. But the fact that we want students to do this project because for the internal satisfaction, to learn, to grow, to create. So this student, what I liked about it is she repurposed this doll. She did this mixed media. She did a kind of so she was really, it wasn't as cohesive as the piece could have been, but she experimented. She tried different things and she dove into learning about Jackie Orms. And it affected a lot of different things throughout the semester for her. So it's great to see that spark in the students, see that connection. And then the other piece is technically beautiful. Graphite, colored pencil, but both of these you see completely different approaches, both students connected with Jackie Orms. Yes, and this is the A for the arts. Let's see what else we have. It's a lot of information I'm going to give you. Let's go to the next link. This is if you want to do a more formal critique. Now, this is the official rubric, of course, right? We all need our rubrics. This rubric shows the breakdown, 40% for the creative interpretation, 40% on the aesthetic, and then their impact paper. The impact paper, it's up to you. For me, I'm very good friends with our AP English teacher. So a lot of times if I'll say, do you want to have this teacher look over this? I can look over it, or they just send it there. But I've read all the impact papers before they're submitted. That's where you really have you see, okay, the student's not just checking a box to finish an assignment. Or checking a box to get a grade. It's showing they're connecting with the heroes. So this is the official rubric to have. And the next slide. Critique and tweak. So I do round robin critiques. I do a lot of different varieties of critiques because critiques can be very dry sometimes. So you try to keep them moving. I've done musical critiques where I have the questions, I put music on, and then when the question stops, the students have to find a seat and sit down and answer that question. I find those work well because they're sitting looking at the art, they're writing their answers. Students sometimes might not be as comfortable saying their thoughts in front of the whole class, but by adding that musical critique element, that really helps keep them engaged. These are some of the categories: the identity and representation, symbolism and metaphor, emotional impact, cultural and historical context, innovation and technique, audience engagement, comparison, contrast, impact and legacy, reflection and action. Again, this is written more for an advanced level art class. You don't need to do all of this, but you can pick and choose what I like. I forgot to mention in STEAM, I wrote this down. There are 4 C's a lot of time in STEAM, which you may have heard of. There's the creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. And critique hits on some of those C's, right? It hits on the communication, the collaboration, in the sense of you could do this when the piece is done. You could also do a working critique, right? You might do a mid-project. Let's look at everything. Let's give each other feedback and not wait till it's all polished and up on the wall. So it's up to you when you want to do the critiques. Like I said, we'll go into the next slide. I like to do it with music. I pause the music. They have to find a seat that they didn't sit at before, and they write their responses. So these are the categories and a couple other questions.
Jen, I just want to pause for a moment and call out to everyone. These questions are so incredible, and they're so, like you said, you don't have to go through all of the different categories, but what you've outlined here is a really useful resource for picking and choosing questions to drill down or across the categories, and really appreciate that you've, like just kind of outlined a question or a prompt that is a very useful resource for our educators. For instance, under emotional impact, how does the artwork evoke emotions related to the unsung hero and their story? And for audience engagement, how might different audiences interpret or connect with the artwork differently? And that's important for understanding the intended meaning and message. So just really appreciate these questions here.
And we don't really, I don't even think you have enough time to look through all of them, but that's why you can just look at them at your own pace and use what works. Or there's such variety in how we teach, right? Some of you have block scheduling. Some of you have only 45 minutes. Some of you have a semester class. So this can it's all ebbs and flows with what fits best for your classroom and your group of students. You could have the same, I'm sure you're the same as me. I have 2 sections of drawing 1. I could do much more advanced things with my morning section for whatever reason, even though it's the exact same class. So push your students in different directions. Yes, the musical chair, I'm telling you, it's a hit. You can let them pick music or not. You could even get into, and there are unsung heroes that are musicians, if you want to get even more deeper and play music from some of the heroes. Any questions about the critiques?
All right, well, we're in our perfect timing. We're in our Q&A session. So actually what we can do is go back to any questions that we missed. If you have questions that you want to ask Jen about anything that we went through, go ahead and unmute yourself or post that in the chat. And I'm just going to go back and ask Kate if we missed anything, to go ahead and call that out. And while I look through the chat just to see in case we missed anything.
It looks like Sally commented. Oh, never mind. I thought it was a question.
That sounds wonderful. And that is a very specific career. Do you want to talk about that for a moment, Sally? That sounds like a really exciting career.
It is. It is a very exciting career. Um, I've met a lot of scientists in my career, working directly with them as a freelancer. Um, and you just never know what's coming because every scientist has his or her own project they're working on. And my job was to illustrate all one page, to illustrate what their project was. That was for Natural History magazine when it was still a magazine. Um, but these kinds of things as a freelancer, because I could move from publication to publication rather than in an institution, um, enabled me to use my science background and use it for making artwork to support the sciences. And I was just in heaven every day. Um, all the sciences that I was able to illustrate was from botany and physical sciences like astronomy, which was my original background, to um, to doing some very science fiction-y type illustrations for science books, fun stuff, factual stuff. It was all up to me with the agreement of the art directors, um, or the museum staff that I worked with. But it was quite exciting. And I, being a freelancer, of course, uh, you do take your life in your hands because you're
Yeah.
working for yourself. But it also allowed me to have a varied career that way.
Awesome,
Thank you so
Sally.
much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I,
Thank
I
you.
was just scrolling through and I saw a question. I want to make sure that Jessica had a question. Did you get your question answered, Jessica Lazarus? And anyone else, go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a question for Jen. Oh, yes. Okay, so you're going to get a copy of the slide deck and a copy of the lesson plan and the recording. So you'll have
Any
the.
other general questions that I can help you with? Also, if you come along with a question, you can always reach out in a couple of days when you start the project. If you're deep into it and you want to get some feedback or tweak things, I'm happy to talk to you about what works, what doesn't work. The quick turnkey takeaways that people usually leave the session with is they'll do the Stroop effect, they'll do the musical critiques, they'll pull up the website and do a deep dive into the Unsung Heroes, show Raja Senna. I mean, there's a lot here, and I just hope that something has stuck with you.
Thank you so much, Jen. This is a robust and a very robust and a deeply engaging lesson. And exactly what you said, there's so many different resources that can be followed step by step, as you've outlined here, or applied in various contexts. I really like, just to summarize, how even communicating to students the importance of the arts, because later on, when we're going through the Hall of Influence and they're looking at different heroes from technology or medicine, it really underscores how there's an artistic element and a design element in all of those disciplines. So understanding these historical figures as people that had, even if they weren't in the arts, an inclination towards thinking artistically and creatively is nice in the beginning of understanding why A is important in STEM, and then guiding us through the next step where we're thinking about thinking and the metacognition and really exploring the different ways our brain works with our hands and our minds and our perception, being able to see the world in new ways, is all part of that second step. So really appreciate that with the Stroop effect and the optical illusions. And then coming into the Unsung Heroes and bringing it together, whether it be through, building the first step of historical empathy through the coloring books, doing trading cards, really that choice-based, and kind of honing in on someone that feels a strong connection to. So, choosing someone that there's an affinity with in history. And I think that's why some of these artworks that we were looking at as examples are really strong, because in the impact statements, we see how the students really felt an affinity to this historical individual. So allowing the students to choose to select someone that they're naturally drawn to, that they admire, whether it's courage, perseverance, concentration, their focus, something that's going to stand out as like that scientific element that really reads through the artwork. So really appreciate all of that.
And
And
the connection, the connection and the collaboration. I mean, get the students to connect with the heroes. There's a couple mentees I spoke with that if you're in a space where you can do it with your middle school and your high school students, if your middle school student and the high school student even pick the same hero, there could be collaboration in there. I mean, the layers of this are really important. My district is a 7th through 12th school. I don't teach middle school this year, but it's just the goal is to bring these hero stories to life, to connect them with our youth.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. I can't convey how much I appreciate this lesson plan and these resources. And I also wanted to thank you. This year, Jen Braverman is an Artifact mentor, which is a new component, and she's helping to guide a subset of our ambassadors with their capstone project. So thank you so much, Jen, for all of your support and engagement with Artifact. In this next section, if you have questions, go ahead and continue to post them in the chat, and we can circle back or follow up if we don't get a chance to it. But in this next section, we want to share information about the resources. We have some exciting resources that we've developed about STEAM Unsung Heroes on our website, and to tell you a little bit more about the competition. So I'm going to turn it over right now to Kate, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the Artifact annual competition.
Yeah, thank you, Jen, for that amazing and really engaging presentation. Just going to quickly go over the artifact competition, which is open now until April 21st. So now is a great time to start getting your students to start working on this. Since 2016, we've had thousands of students worldwide focus on unsung heroes as role models. This is open to all students in grades 6 through 12, and all of them are eligible for the top awards. We welcome all mediums, including 2D and 3D, and our awards total over $35,000. All right, we can head to the next slide. Awesome. So these are the steps to participate. We also have all of this on our website in case this is too fast for you. But basically, they'll choose their unsung hero, and we have a lot of tools on our website that are really great to decide what kind of hero is right for them. If they want STEAM, civil rights, activists, things like that are all on our website. We have the rules and guidelines. Then they'll create the artwork and write a short impact statement, which is important just to have their original piece of writing along with their work. And then finally, they will submit their artwork online through Submittable. And like I said, you have till April 21st. So now is a good time to bring that idea up or get things going. I saw someone commented that they're going to start working on it in their class tomorrow. So that's great. And then briefly, here are the 2026 prize categories, pretty similar from last year, where we awarded over $35,000 and presented 34 awards. So we have the top prizes. This includes a grand prize, which all entries are eligible, like I said before. We have 2 prizes for high schoolers, 2 top awards for middle schoolers, and then we have specific spotlight prizes, which are really exciting because they focus on unsung heroes that have not been represented yet in our art project competition. So these are specific ones in STEAM. And then we also have media spotlight prizes, and this highlights different kinds of mediums that we are looking for, so specifically sculpture and 3D and large format works. And if you have any questions, you can always email us or comment in the chat. All these resources are on the website.
Thank you so much, Kate. I'm just going to take a moment to answer Michelle's question about, I think, the prizes for middle school. So middle school students are eligible for all the prizes, including the grand prize and the spotlight prizes, but there are two special categories for middle school prizes. There's a best in show, which is a $2,000 prize, and a second place for 1,000. But middle school students are eligible to for all the prizes. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, so we're gonna take a look at our website next, and just want to turn it over to Connor. We've launched recently a new Artifact website that was in development last year. So very excited to show some new resources, specifically some ones that can get to our STEAM Unsung Heroes quickly for you to explore in your classroom. So Connor, go ahead and give us a quick tour there.
Yes, awesome. Thanks, Tony. So, yeah, our website has lots of resources for you and your students being able to discover different unsung heroes that are on our list. And this is our homepage. And if you go over the Unsung Heroes tab, you'll see that there are a few different options. But on our directory page, this has our full list of all the heroes to choose from, as well as the categories of unsung heroes. So this is where we have civil rights, environmentalism, journalism, and then our STEAM heroes. So I'll just click into that really quick to show you. So in this, you can see, you can have your students scroll down. There's all of our STEAM heroes that are available here, and you can click in to any of these and get an image and information, including a bio and the image about this unsung hero that's available. And you can also search here if you have a particular topic that you are interested in, and it'll pop up as needed. And then we also have one of our interactives. Actually, we have 3 new interactives as a way to explore all the different heroes, so you can not have to see a full list. These are more interactive. And so one of those is our pictographs, which is specifically for our STEAM heroes. So this whole list is only our STEAM heroes, but it's also a visual way for students to be able to engage with all sorts of different unsung heroes. So we call it pictographs because there's an image. And so you hover over this and it has a little question. How did one simple test help save millions of newborns? Then you click learn. And then you'll get to learn about what unsung hero that pictograph represents. So in this case, Virginia Apgar, who created the Apgar test for newborns for their health. So yeah, and you can continue to explore our website with all these different interactives. And yeah, we're just excited for you to choose Unsung Heroes with your students.
Aren't there examples of the pieces too for each hero? The
Oh,
art.
yeah. Yes, actually, within each Unsung Hero record, you can go down to the bottom of the bio and you'll see all projects about that unsung hero. So in this case, this is all of our finalists and winners about Virginia Apgar. And you can also, under competition, go and view all finalists and winners. And so you can go here if you want to see all of the winners, such as this last year. And some of our specific STEAM winners, we saw are Among the Stars by Jean Shoemaker. We have Isabella Iona Abbott, who was a Spotlight hero last year, and we actually had a 3D winner of this bronze crown. So feel free to explore on our website all over 100 winners over the past 10 years that are featured here. So yeah, thanks.
Great.
Back to you, Tony.
All right, thank you, Connor. And yeah, thank you, Jen, for pointing out that within each record, it's relational, so you can get from the Unsung Heroes bio to the artwork or vice versa. And I think that's a nice teaching tool too, as we did this evening, to look at some of these artworks as exemplars or examples for students to kind of critique as a starting point if they're starting the project and have a visual reference. So on our next slide, I just wanted to mention that we have recently announced that we've opened an artifact exhibition at the Milken Center for Advancing the American Dream, which opened in September in 2025. And we have 3,000 square feet of ARTEFFECT exhibition space there. Kate is posting the link to the exhibition online on our website. You can explore it, as well as a link to the press release. I'm very excited to feature 43 award-winning projects from students over the last decade, students in grades 6 through 12 that celebrate the Unsung Heroes, and each artwork is featured with the artwork that's been framed, as well as a excerpt from their impact statement. So very excited, and stay tuned for more information about that exhibition rolling out. As I mentioned at the beginning, ARTEFFECT runs professional development, which we are engaged in, as well as the competition and exhibition. So we have the artworks on display at MCAT, as well as in our Lowell Milken Center for Unsung Heroes headquarters in Fort Scott, Kansas. And so great, thank you. Connor has shown us a little bit of what's coming up. So I want to invite everyone to our last module coming up this year, February 18th. We're going to be focused on remembering the Holocaust. We have a large group of heroes from the Holocaust. And so this lesson plan by Megan Helberg, who's also an LMC Fellow, will guide us through best practices for representing heroes and Holocaust education best practices. So please feel free to register. We'll send you the link to that in our follow-up email, and you can plan to join us. And if you register, you can receive the lesson plan and the recording as well. So all of these lessons, in case you missed them previously, they're available on the website, the recordings and the lesson plan. So I invite you to explore that. And I think we're coming down to the close of our session. We just have a few minutes. Want to make sure that we've answered everyone's questions. If you have any questions, you can always follow up. arteffect@lowmilken.org. If you're new to ARTEFFECT or wanting to try out the competition, we'd be happy to send you some posters and postcards and bookmarks, and that offer goes to anyone. If you'd like some materials, we will be happy to send you a packet. So just send us a request and we can follow up and get that out to you. Jen has graciously given her email here, so you can contact her at this email for any follow-up questions as well. And yeah, I think, is there anything, Kate and Connor, that I've missed or that we have missed here in the questions? Or any other information? No? Okay, well, then I'd like to just wrap up. We're gonna, I want to thank everyone for joining. I know it's late in some parts of the country. It's getting dark here in California. We're just so delighted to convene monthly like we have been doing, to see so many of you really here to support you. So thank you for joining, our ambassadors far and wide. Thank you to our newcomers. Thank you to our awesome presenter, Jen Braverman, this evening for this lesson plan and all of these amazing tools and all of her support. And thank you to my team, Connor and Kate. Thank you to our founder, Mr. Lowell Milken. And thank you, everyone. So we're going to unmute and say a collective goodbye, and we will see you at the next module in February.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.